Okay, welcome to our listeners to another episode of our SRS podcast. I'm your host for today, John Vorhies, and I'm from Stanford. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Pramod Bhilare, who is from India, and he is the winner of our 2023 Winter Global Outreach Fellowship. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about his experience today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Doctor. I think it was a great to hear back from the SRS, and I'm looking forward for this interview for my experience in the Robert Winter Fellowship, what I had received in 2023, and I would be glad to talk about it.
Great. So you're a fully trained spine surgeon, have an interest in spine deformity, and can you tell us a little bit about what led you to apply for this fellowship and how you heard about it?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I am a spine consultant in one of the hospitals in Pune. It's a high volume centers where we I have specialized in spine surgeries since last 7 8 years, and I am a consultant there since last 4 years. And one of my colleague, actually Dr. Ajay Kothari, is also a SRS member. So I had heard a lot of about SRS and the things which goes into SRS, the technicalities of it, and the benefits and the beautiful organization it is. I think young budding surgeons like us and probably few experienced surgeons also have a lot to take out of this beautiful organization.
That's great. And tell us a
Nice.
little bit about the process of applying. How long did it take, and what were the steps involved?
So yeah, so when I actually went to the site, the official site of SRS, and I got to introduce this SRS fellowship by one of my colleagues, as I mentioned, Dr. Jay Kothari, and a few others who, and he just told me just go through the online thing, and probably you have any query, you get back to me and I'll solve them. But I can say it had a beautiful user interface. When I went there, it had all there. I hardly took any time to go to the fellowships part and look at what are the different fellowships I can apply for, and what are the past fellows. So that also benefits if for some reason you are in contact with those past fellows. They give you a heads up what goes into this organization and what you can look forward when you're applying for these fellowships. And my forte was I do a lot of degenerative work as well as deformity and endoscopic work, kind of from one end to the other end of the spine. But I kind of do this diverse portfolio as far as spine surgeries are concerned. That I had a keen interest in developing my skill sets in terms of the deformity surgeries, and it was none other than this SRS, which is the Scoliosis Research Society, which gave me the extreme beautiful experience and a wealthy experience regarding my deformity career and the skill sets.
Well, glad to hear it. I mean, there's many other surgeons like you who benefited from expertise of our mentors within the SRS. So, did you know where you wanted to go when you applied?
There are few centers which have been given where there are SRS members and you can apply for it. But I had discussed during the SRS fellowship also with the coordinator, and again, heads up to her that she helped me a lot during the SRS fellowship, and she told me what are the different centers available in the fellowships. And also, if you want to go beyond these centers, then the only requirement what you have is there should be an active SRS member attached to this hospital. You can apply directly to them. And if there is any need where she needs an intervention, where she need to discuss to the mentors there, then she is happy to help. That was a great help during that, and I think this was a great opportunity to choose the different SRS members around, and also look what kind of a work these guys are doing. And I would again tell that if this was not there, then I wouldn't have known there are so many active SRS members around this globe, and they're doing excellent work. When I actually tried searching them, it was a great help.
Great. And so, tell us where you ended up going.
Yeah, so I did apply to the Wooridul Spine Hospital. Actually, before that, I did apply to the Singapore hospital with Dr. Gabriel Liu, but for some visa reason, there was some problem, and the tenure when they had told me to come, I had my personal commitments here. So I in turn selected Wooridul Hospital, and there Dr. Junsip Bey was an excellent mentor and host who just guided me through my path right from getting in contact with the secretaries and then doing the visa process, and also helped me a lot there.
Great. And how long did you spend there?
So I spent almost 6 weeks. So that was the maximum which was allowed, and I must say I've enjoyed. And I tried to use the entire 6 weeks, seconds to seconds. Like I didn't leave even a day less. I was like I want to complete those 6 weeks and not four, because what was given there is 4 to 6 weeks. I said I want to go for the maximum here and get the maximum benefit out of this fellowship. So I went from 20th March somewhere and completed up to 30th April. So almost 42 days I was there.
And what were your days like there? Were you spending some time in clinic watching mentors? Were you in the operating room?
Yes. So again, it's known to everyone that Wooridul Hospital again is a very very high volume center where the surgeries goes in tunes of 40 to 60 per day. So and that the deformity surgeons are anywhere between surgeries are between anywhere between 4 to 8, and then there are endoscopy surgeons you can watch for the cervicals. There are lot of A lifts and O lifts these guys do. So the typically the day used to start somewhere around 7:38. On every Thursday, they used to have this all Wooridul meeting where the Wooridul hospitals from other areas used to come online, discuss their difficult cases, or at times do a journal club, and then proceed to the surgeries. So surgeries typically used to start somewhere around 8:39 ish, and they used to go almost till 4:35. So that was the entire day, but they allowed me to come to the OPDs if I wanted. But because of the difficulty in the language, because they speak Korean and I had no idea about this Korean language, so I used to find it difficult. I tried 1 or 2 days, but then I used to hang out with the fellows and we used to discuss a lot of their old cases and probably the prospective cases in the coming weeks and all.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. So the language was an issue for you. It was probably difficult to discuss cases at a high level, but you were still able to gain a lot, I
Yes,
imagine, from
yes, yes.
observing operations.
Yes, yes. So, at times, typically, what I feel the complete circle of learning happens from patient history to their outcome in the post-op period. But the
Mm.
fellows there used to help me out. I couldn't contact or even discuss well with the patients there, but the fellows used to help me out with the patient symptoms. What are the patients who need at that time? How are they suffering? And how their suffering has decreased after the surgery. So everything was held by the fellows there, and at times mentors also, because in certain areas the mentors were the direct contact for me. So they used to help me out with those queries also.
Why don't you give us a few examples of some things that surprised you that you didn't necessarily expect when you went
Yeah,
there?
so yeah, absolutely. So one, I had heard of the Wooridul Spine Hospital being a number one in South Korea, doing a lot of volumes of surgery, but to a tune of having a 40 to 60 surgeries a day was remarkable. I mean, I
For
used to
sure.
always feel that we at Sancheti Hospital in Pune we have a high volume center, but after going there, I was truly humbled. I was like, this is what they do. This is extensive. They have 11 OTs where they do surgeries and more than 15 surgeons who are operating day in and day out. So that was a remarkable thing. The kind of hard work they put in for their days was another surprise for me, because I always felt the Asian, especially Indians, are hard workers. But then when I saw the Koreans, I think again I was humbled that these guys are way hard worker and dedicated to their patient care. So that was another surprise for me. Third was the overall humbleness among the mentorship, the very probability of going them, easy to approach kind of an attitude among the mentors and the people along was beautiful. Whenever I asked for a help, never I got a no from them. It was always any queries, just approach me and I'm going to do the best to make you comfortable. So that was another host characteristics I think was very humbling for me throughout my 6 weeks of experience. And fourth thing was the beautiful weather and the developed country it is. So that was apart from the fellowship, I think that was beyond what my expectations was. And I went typically in a transition period of weather, which is from cold to a slightly warm. I think that kind of supported my Indian culture, where I can kind of had not only a very coldy temperature, but then soothing into a warmer temperature, very compatible to my style. So, so the weather was again good, and the places around whatever I got to know in my evening or even the night times or at times on holidays was excellent. And the last but not the least, the food. Food was something I never expected I would like, because we again Indians, we think that we are spicy surgeons, so we kind of eat a lot of spicy. But I think I had my one of my fellowship was in Japan a couple of years back, and then what I saw there was almost no spice there, but there was speciality here that is Korean spicy. So that was again what I got to know, and they take care of their entire staff there. That was again beautiful, right from their breakfast to their lunch to their dinner. Everything was taken care of by them for the entire staff. So that was again new, and few of the things I tried implementing in our own hospital that could was a game changer for me. So these were the new things, surprises I didn't expect, but yeah, it kind of changed my entire attitude towards being a spine surgeon, and also my approach to my lesser beings or even for my staffs.
Yeah, so it sounds like you took a lot away that wasn't necessarily directly related to spine surgery, maybe sort of
Yes.
how medicine was practiced and how,
Yes.
yeah. So can you give me some examples of what you mentioned you tried to implement some things when you came back. What did you do differently?
Yeah, so one thing was the dedicatedness that you should start your surgery at this bang on time and make sure that you have the bestest of the staff. So when I saw their staff, the staff was ultra supportive, and they were very quick in their hands. So that's what I saw. Even for the deformity surgeon, when I saw the deformity surgeons, they were doing quick within no time. They're putting screws. And what was another surprising element was the staff around, the assistant surgeons, and even for that matter, the supporting sister. They were doing everything quick, and the planning for each surgery was very meticulous. If they had to do this surgery, there was a lot involved in the planning, how they are going to approach the cases. And I think that was a big thing why what I started. I start my case now bang on time. I have educated my sisters and my nursing staff who is supporting me during the OT in the same manner, so that they know the case how it is to be done. And also my paramedic staff, the X-ray technicians, they also know how to proceed further in the cases. What I saw very differently there, the X-ray technicians there were very skilled. They know what is happening and they knew what surgeries are going to happen. And that's what I tried to implement, and I'm within the less time, within a year or so, I've tried doing it, and I would say that I've definitely seen changes in my staff.
Tell me about so you mentioned the planning. What was the planning process that you saw there, and how did it differ from what you have done, and how did it impact your
Yes.
practice?
So yes, so one was the planning used to be right from the pre-op period, how what the surgeries are being done used to be discussed among the peer members and also with the assistant surgeon. So not only the surgeon but the assistant surgeon, even the nursing staff knew what all the surgeries are going to happen a day prior. I think that helped the staff to prepare for the case. And usually, what happens in my hospital or in typically in an Indian setup is the nursing staff comes to know about the surgery on that day. So that is what was different. Also, the crowd in the OT was minimal. When I saw, they had typical buzzer system where whenever the surgery used to close off, or when the suturing has to be started, or there was any need for any assistance, the sister had a buzzer system right located at the base of the table where she used to press that button, and then a staff used to come and ask for if she needs anything. Typically, tried installing that in our hospital because a lot of chaos happens if you want something and no one is there in the OT, and you start getting cranky about it, especially surgeon. So we surgeons become cranky easily, but with this system, the calmness in the OT was very, very nice. So that also I tried implementing during my learning there, and tried implementing in my hospital too.
And how did that go? How'd you go about implementing that? You know, that's sometimes challenging if you have a culture that moves a certain way to try to change the way experienced people do their jobs.
Yes, so one is again, many a times what mind does not know, it's not going to happen. So you cannot see that it is actually going to happen. When I saw that, and then when I told my mentors and even my bosses here in this hospital, they understood. Oh, if this is happening, why don't we try it? So we tried that for the first 3 months, and surprisingly it worked beautifully, and they thanked me really for that, that giving that idea that could happen. And so it always is, we as a surgeons, we always think this is not going to happen, how this can happen so smoothly. But when you see something happening, then the mind starts working in those lines, and definitely you can implement in your own setup also.
Yeah, great. So we talked a little bit about some systemic examples. How about like working in your hospital system? But how about sort of clinically? Did you see any types of operations that you weren't used to, or have you taken any clinical or technical pearls back to your current practice?
Yes, yes. So typically, Indian surgeons, Indian spine surgeons are posterior surgeons. We do a lot of posterior work, posterior stabilization, posterior derotation. But then what I saw there was they are both anterior versus posterior. In select cases, especially lumbar spine, where is huge need of anterior surgery, where you can decrease on to the levels of fixation, thereby giving few mobile days to the patient. The anterior surgery works well. So when I saw that the anterior surgeries are giving such a great result, I think that was a good learner. And this does not happen much commonly in Indian setup because we, like Japanese, are more of a posterior surgeons.
Great. So you've incorporated a little bit more anterior operations into your practice now, huh?
Yes, yes,
Did
yes.
that require sort of learning a new skill set or collaborating with new teams, or how'd you go about doing it?
Yes. So, what again, they collaborate well with the CVTS surgeon, the cardiovascular thoracic surgeon. So, I started doing that in our setup also, collaborating well with the CVTS surgeons, and also certain oblique surgeries like olive surgeries. What we again, I was not very acquainted with. That I learned a lot in those areas, and especially for degenerative scoliosis, I think it works well where you are able to put a big size cage through a not very anterior but a slightly oblique, that is an OLIF approach, and thereby improving the curvatural deformity of the patient.
Mhm. Great. So, was there anything that you saw that you think you worked really well in that environment that you don't think that would work in your practice?
Ah, okay. So I think majority of them regarding the deformity surgeries was quite clear that I could implement them with slightly, I would say, more experience and some pushing from my bosses. But there were few like doing endoscopic surgeries in local. Now this is not deformity, but when I saw that all their transforaminal surgeries happen under local, they don't give GA at all. So that
Hmm.
was a big thing for me because again, transforaminal surgery. There are few surgeons who do in Indian setups under local, but primarily and only doing it under local. Even for that matter, anterior cervical discectomy via endoscopic approach was done under local. I mean, that was like this I have never heard of, and when I saw it, it was again that this is not going to be possible in Indian setup. I have really not tried the anterior surgery, via local approach, but I'm doing transforaminal surgeries via local, and I've got excellent results because of that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Okay. How about to close this off, do you have any advice that you want to give to other surgeons who might be thinking about following in your footsteps and applying for this fellowship?
Oh, okay. So definitely. So one of the things was in the list of the recommended centers for fellowship. Wooridul Hospital was not there, but when I did find that there are active SRS members in Wooridul, and I did apply for it. But then I would say it gives you a good spectrum of surgery. Not only deformities are there for you to take, the learning is there for you to take, but then you have different spectrums along with deformity, right? Endoscopy, A lifts, O lifts, there are disc replacements which are happening. So that was a big plus as far as center is concerned. The three major mentors, that is Singa Shin, Dr. Junsuk Bey, and the boss of Wooridul Hospital, everyone helped me a lot during the fellowship. The host characters was up to the mark, I would say. When you talk about Wooridul Hospital being the number one, not only in the surgeries, but again being a beautiful fellowship centers for you, deformity as well as MIS surgery. So that was a big thing. And another learning, I would say, SRS are there to help you. I think this beautiful organization of like SRS, very rare, but at the same time, with the same breath, I would say they are very approachable. I simply applied through those requirements which they had sent, and they purely select you on merit. It's There's no obviously any inputs from any other person here. So I think there are very few organizations left like this who are actually selecting people on merit, and people and fellows in places like Southeast Asian countries where you want to really explore the deformity surgeries like this, and even plan for US and even Canada for that matter. These or the recommended Rady Children's Hospital, which were there in their centers. If you have to do it, then SR is the place where you need to apply. So I think that was a big learning, and I look forward for. I've got multiple queries from many of my Indian colleagues and fellows asking for how did you apply for this era SRS fellowship. They are looking forward for it, and they always felt that is there something they can do other than filling up the form. And I said no, just have to fill up the form, just wait for their reply. They are considering a genuine participation of the fellow, and they're putting everything on the merit. So that is, I think, the beautiful experience what I received from SRS. Even for that matter, the prize money which was there, uh, I get to spend first, and then they are going to reimburse. I thought that is the reimbursement will be a tedious process, and I don't know how it is going to happen. But again, to my surprise, it was a very smooth process. Within a week or so, I got the reimbursement back. And again, it talks enough about the SRS, how professional people are at SRS. So thank you, SRS, again for giving me, and thank you all for helping me with this beautiful experience, which I'm sure not only for me, for many of my fellows who are going to learn under me, it will be a great experience to teach also. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to share your experience with me and all of our SRS members who are listening to the podcast. You have a
Yeah,
great rest of your day.
yeah.
Evening.
Thank
What
you
time
very
is
much.
it there, actually?
It's actually night 9, so
Okay, well, it's 7 in the morning for me, so
yes. I'm so sorry. I'm getting you up early to
I'm a
this.
surgeon. It's no problem at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much,
All
doctor.
right. Bye-bye now.
Bye bye. Bye bye.